Welcome everybody to Plant Powered. I'm Chef Ryan Jennings of Sweet Pea Plant-Based Kitchen, and today we're going to be preparing 3 delightful recipes focusing on flavors from East Asia. First, we'll have a creamy carrot soup with Thai spices, followed by a tofu sag paneer, and we'll finish off with a dosa galette. Let's get started on the creamy carrot soup with Thai spices. So this is a recipe that we came up with at Sweet Pea earlier last year. So we wanted something nice in the spring, bright flavors. We wanted to do something with things from Thailand. So things like kaffir lime leaves here have a beautiful fragrance. Thai ginger, garlic, a little bit of jalapeno for spice, and then this wonderful red curry paste that we prepared ahead of time. So this is things like red chilies, again, these kaffir lime leaves, ginger, onions, and it really brings a lot of zip to the dish. This is something that can be prepared in the spring, fall, winter. Also in the summer, it's wonderful served chilled. It comes together fairly quickly, so we'll just get started here. The first thing we want to do is prepare the carrots and the aromatic vegetables here. So we've just got a few carrots. I always like to keep a bowl handy to save trimmings. These can be used for stock or for your compost. It also helps keep your workstation clean. Working in restaurants for as many years as I have, having a clean, orderly station is one of the most important things. And you'll see as I'm peeling these, I'm kind of peeling towards myself and turning it with my thumb and middle finger to make them go quickly. This is particularly good in the summertime. If you go to the farmer's market and get one of those big, bushy bunches of carrots, this would be good with different colored carrots, any of those sorts of things. Okay, so from there, we're just going to trim off the top of the carrots there and remove those. And then these can just be roughly chopped. We are gonna puree the soup eventually, so we don't need to do anything fancy. Just like that. Okay. Got those there. Then we're going to prepare an onion here. So here, we're just taking off the top and bottom. So we've got a nice flat surface to work from. Slice through the center there. Remove the outside. Again, good for stock. If you're not going to use stock, compost, and then we're just going to slice this thinly. Voila. You could also use green onions or scallions for this, leeks. Any real allium would work well there. We're just going to use about a third of this jalapeno. And you'll see in here we've got the capsaicin, the seeds there. We're going to leave those in because we like a little bit of spice in this dish. But if you wanted to take those out, it would remove a little bit of the spice. It's where it holds all the heat. And just do be careful if you get those on your hands. You want to make sure to wash up right afterward. We've got a couple of garlic cloves here, again, just sliced thinly. And then also a bit of ginger. So for this, we're just going to use our peeler to take off some of the outside. You could also use a spoon to do this. And then we'll take a little bit of our ginger here. This is a pretty versatile recipe. If you wanted to do something with a different root vegetable like parsnips, turnips, the different things you have around, celery root, rutabaga, all those things would work well. But I like carrots for their sweetness. I think they will very well with all the different Thai flavors that we've got here. And there we are. So that's about all the real prep work that we need to do here. Now we just need to simmer the soup. Yeah. Okay. So I like having these this little bench scraper around. It helps stay sort of neat and orderly. Oh, watch out for that guy. And we'll just go here. So we've got a little soup pot here. We're just going to put this over sort of medium heat. So we've got our little cocotte here that we're going to prepare the soup in. We've got a little bit of vegetable stock that we prepared ahead of time. I always keep a bag in the freezer. to hold all of those scraps that we made from preparing vegetables. And then eventually, once that bag gets full, you just throw it in the pot on the stove with a little bit of water, sweat out those vegetables, cover it with water, and simmer it for about an hour and a half. And then you've got a nice vegetable stock, and then you've always got it around. You'll notice here we're not using any oil. So that's a key tenet of whole food plant-based cooking, is that it's also oil-free. You know, when you make an oil, it's a very calorically dense food, but not with all of the sort of health benefits that are in there from a whole food. So this is going to bring the fat content down, and all of the sort of calories and all the nutritiousness of this dish will be in it itself without the oil. So we just want to use this as you would oil here, bringing it up to just a simmer, and then adding our vegetables. And so we're adding these all at the same time. We just want to cook these until they're very soft. And that should take about 15 minutes. Okay, so this has been simmering for a few minutes now, and as you can see, the onions have softened up nicely. The carrots have begun to soften a bit. So we're just going to add the remaining items to the soup and then simmer it until it's tender here. So we've got a little bit of the red curry paste that we have. You can add as much as you want, but just keep in mind that it is pretty spicy. Got some of the kaffir lime leaves. These are wonderful, fragrant, used in Thai cooking very often. I wish you could smell them here, but if you can find them, you find them at like an Asian market. Then we've got just a touch of maple syrup. You could exclude that if you'd like. And add a little bit of salt. And some coconut milk. And so then we're just going to reduce the heat here once this comes up to a boil, and let it simmer on low to medium temperature until it's soft. Great, so for the next recipe we're going to prepare a tofu sag paneer. So traditionally this is made with halloumi cheese, but we're going to use tofu instead. It's comprised of a few different components. First we'll have some roasted tofu and cauliflower that we'll season a little bit with a curry. Then there's the tofu sag sauce itself, so we're going to make that with cauliflower, a few aromatics, and spinach. And then we'll bring it all together with the sauce, those different components, for a nice dish. We'll start by trimming up some cauliflower here. So we've got this big guy. You want to start by removing these leaves on the outside. The tender ones you can eat, but probably just best for the compost. We're going to cut this down and just cut it into some florets. Since we're going to be pureeing the sauce, it's okay, all these little pieces here, that's what we'll use for that. And then the larger portions we'll roast. And so to cut these down in florets, you want to make sure that you're leaving some flat sides. So this is going to, when we place it in the oven to roast it, you're going to get a little bit of caramelization there. These little cores here are great to save if you want to shave them thinly and add to a salad. We can also use this because we're going to be pureeing the sauce. So for that, we'll just cut this down just a little bit, and we'll save this portion here for cutting, and then we'll use this part here for the sauce. So next here, we're gonna add some aromatics to this. So we'll start with a little bit of onion here. We could use scallions or leeks for this as well, but white onion works best, I think. Just slice that thinly. You could roughly chop it any really way you like, because we're just going to be pureeing this sauce in the end to give it sort of a silky texture. Got a couple of cloves of garlic. Again, as we did in the first recipe, a little bit of ginger. And we're just taking this skin off. The skin is quite bitter, so you do want to make sure you remove it. Sometimes in the summertime at your local farmer's market, you'll be able to find fresh ginger that was grown. That one you don't have to peel because it hasn't been cured yet really, so it's going to not have that same bitter taste that with the normal stuff that you find in the grocery store. Okay, then again we've got a little bit of jalapeno pepper that we're leaving the seeds in because we like that little heat. And then we've got an Anaheim pepper. This one here, not nearly as spicy as a jalapeno or a serrano, but it does have a little bit of heat. So you do want to remove this capsaicin here if you want to make this a little bit less spicy, but I think we like the heat. Okay, so this is about all we need to get started cooking the recipe, and we'll add a few more ingredients when we go to the stove. We're going to start here by dry toasting some spices. I like to get all the spices I can whole. You get a much better flavor this way because when you grind spices, they lose their oil. So you're going to lose a lot of that taste within the first 15 minutes of grinding them. So here we have some whole coriander seeds, and I've just been heating this this pot just over medium-high heat. Got some black peppercorns. And some cumin seeds for a nice sort of smoky flavor. Coriander seeds have a nice sort of floral, fragrant aroma to them. Cumin's got kind of a smoky, bitter taste, and then obviously black pepper's got that sort of sharpness and bite. And these are going to start building the flavors of this dish. So we just want to move them around a little bit, and we just want to toast them over this sort of medium-high heat until they're nice and fragrant and a little bit brown. So as soon as you can smell them, you're about there. And then the last thing we're going to do before we introduce some moisture in the vegetables here is we've got a little bit of garam masala. So this is an Indian spice mix here. This has already been ground. So we're just going to add this here and just give it a light toast for a second. You can see the pan's nice and hot for this. Okay, great. And so then we've got some of our vegetable stock that we're going to add. Perfect. And so now we're going to add the other items that we just prepared here. So we've got our Anaheim chili, our jalapeno, onion, garlic, ginger, and our cauliflower. Okay. Already looks good. So we're just going to cover this and simmer it till it's tender before we add the remaining items. Great. So now we're going to prepare the tofu and the cauliflower for the oven. This will be most of the garniture for the dish. So we've got here some extra firm tofu. We've just drained this and then we pressed it lightly in between two baking trays to get some of the excess moisture out of it. And so we're just going to cut this down pretty simply, just into cubes. You know, tofu is a wonderful, versatile, plant-based protein. You know, this is going to be kind of the centerpiece of this dish, but you can use it to thicken soups by throwing some of those items in there. I've got a great recipe that we may be showing at a later date for chocolate mousse with it. You can use it in desserts, all sorts of different things that we can do. So we've got our bowl here, we've got our cubed tofu, and then we've got a little bit more of that garam masala mix that we used in the sauce. We just want to lightly coat that. And then we've got some tamari. So this is a gluten-free soy sauce, and we're using this. It's going to provide a little bit of caramelization since we're not using any oil. It's going to have that sort of deep, rich umami flavor that tamari has, and it'll help coat the spices here on the tofu. So just grab a little spoon here so that they can mix it well. And then we've got a baking tray here that we have prepared with a silpat. So this is a non-stick cooking sheet, and that way we don't need to use any oil and it won't stick. And so for this part, you just want to make sure that these tofu pieces are spread apart from each other. That way that they'll cook evenly and get nice and brown. And then we've got the cauliflower that we prepared from before. And we're just going to do the exact same thing. A little bit of the tamari and a little bit of the garam masala. Mix that around. Great. And add that to the sill pad as well. And so again, we cut these so that there was a nice sort of flat surface on the side. And so we want to make sure that the cauliflower is sitting on that flat side. That way we're going to get some nice caramelization on that. And so we're going to roast this in the oven for 15 to 20 minutes. We've preheated the oven to 450, so we're just going to place it in there now, and we'll be right back. Okay, so our carrot soup has been simmering here for about 20 minutes or so, and now it's ready to puree. We know that it's ready because it's everything has been completely cooked through, totally soft. You can pass a knife through it very easily. So just bring that over here. Got our blender prepared here. You want to make sure when you're blending hot soups to be very careful. Start on the lowest possible setting and then ratchet it up. It smells wonderful. So we're going to add a little bit of lime juice here just to flavor it and bring it up the acidity a bit. Wonderful. Okay. So you should be able to add all of this at once here. And so this is about a nice appetizer for two, or a hearty lunch for one, this amount. All right, so we just pureed our soup on high in the blender until nice and smooth, and that's what we have here now. And when we're ready to go to the plate, just serve a couple of ladlefuls here. Oh, it smells so wonderful. The kaffir lime leaves, the Thai curry paste, all these things, the ginger, garlic, all these things just come together to really make a delightful soup. So just very simply to garnish this here at the end, we've got a few leaves of basil. There's actually another variety called Thai basil that would be even more perfect for this. But we're just going to cut this very thinly into a nice chiffonade and just add a little bit here in the center as a garnish. We've made this before with peanuts as well, also really good. But this is just a nice simple preparation of it, so bon appetit. You'll see here our cauliflower, peppers, everything are nice and tender, so this is going to make a nice smooth sauce. And we're just going to add a few more items here. We got a little bit of almond milk. And then a little bit of coconut milk. I like to mix the two sometimes because it cuts down a little bit on the richness of the coconut milk because it is a pretty high fat item. But you know, it's not something you really have to worry about cooking this way, because since we're not using any oil, you got to think about it like a tablespoon of olive oil is like 180 calories. So like by not using that stuff and just using a little bit of these sort of whole fats, you're doing a lot better. We've got a little bit of tamari here. Again, for that sort of umami punch, a little bit of turmeric. And we're just going to bring this up to a simmer here over high heat. And once we get this up to temperature here, we're going to add some bright green things and puree it pretty quickly so that we've got a nice sort of vibrant sauce. The coconut milk and almond milk have come up to a simmer here, and we're going to start to add our spinach. And so we're going to add a little bit more than we need for the sauce because we're going to take a little bit out to serve on the side of the dish as well. It's about perfect there. And we just want this to wilt down. It's baby spinach, very tender. Okay, so we've got our tofu sag paneer sauce here. We've blended in, or we're gonna get ready to blend in the spinach. I also just want to add right here at the final moment some fresh cilantro. You want to do that absolute last thing so that you can preserve the taste and fragrance. Okay, great. So we've got our tofu and cauliflower here that we just pulled out of the oven. This was in there for 15 or so minutes at 450, nice and high. And you'll see we've got some nice caramelization on the outside here. And now that we've got our sauce blended and we've got a little bit of spinach here, we're all set and we're ready to go to the plate. So I like this with a nice amount of sauce, almost like a stew. So we're gonna put a good ladle full there. Then here, we're just gonna arrange a little bit of the cauliflower around the outside. Pull, and then we'll also kind of alternate the tofu in here for a nice presentation. A couple more pieces of tofu. And then we've got our spinach that we saved as well. Clean. And then finally, got just a little bit more fresh cilantro that we're gonna add here right at the end to keep things nice and fragrant. And then we have our finished dish, tofu sag paneer. So for the final recipe we're gonna prepare today, this is sort of East meets West kind of play on a traditional French dish. You know, I went to the French Culinary Institute, and so that's really my background here. All the foundations of cooking in a brigade in the French Culinary Institute really are the things that brought me here today. But I wanted to make kind of a twist on this. Obviously in French cooking there's a whole lot of cream, butter, obviously lots of pork products, different things. So to apply that sort of ethos to the whole food, plant-based world wouldn't really work without tweaking some things. So what we're going to prepare today is a Dosa Gateau. So the traditional French dish is a crepe Gateau, where layers of crepes will be mixed with sometimes a fruit jam, chocolate sauce, different things like that, and layer it up. We're going to do that using a traditional Indian dosa, which is a red lentil and brown rice crepe. So that's what we have here. These have just been soaked in water overnight, and we're going to use our little strainer here to just get the excess moisture out of there. I'm just going to rinse this a bit. Great. So now we've got our other bowl here. We're going to add these into. Okay. So from here, we're going to use the blender to make our batter. It's important here to use a high quality blender, something with a fair amount of power behind it. In our kitchens at Sweet Pea, we use the Vitamix brand. Highly recommend them. If you don't have a Vitamix, they are a bit of an investment, and you're using a different blender with a little less power, you're going to want to work in small batches at a time so that you get the batter nice and pulverized in there. Okay. So here we have the top to our blender. We're going to start by adding a few dates. Dates are wonderful for making for sweetening dishes, but using that whole food plant-based ethos. So this is a whole food here. You're going to get all the nutrients that are involved in it, but not have to worry about added sugars. So we're going to add our mixture of lentils and rice here. And we want to fill this up about a third to half of the way. We're also going to use a little bit of cinnamon. And so now we're going to take this to the blender. So to make the batter, batter rather in the blender, we're going to add a little bit of just tap water here. And you want to just cover the lentils so that this purees smoothly on its own. Make sure you secure the top. This thing is pretty high powered. So here what we have, just a nice smooth batter. The rice and the lentils that have been soaked are completely pulverized here. So we just gonna transfer that over here. Okay, now that we have our batter made, we want to let it rest for a few minutes while we prepare the fillings for our gâteau. So we're gonna do 2 fillings, just so as we layer the crepes later on, we'll get a nice sort of cross section when we cut them to plate the dish. So here we've got some 100% cacao baking chocolate. And what I've got back here is a little bit of condensed coconut milk. Okay, so we're just gonna pour this over the chocolate and just let that sit for a moment so that the chocolate will melt. And meanwhile, we'll prepare the other part of the filling. So this is strained coconut yogurt. Nice little piece there. And we're just gonna put this into our food processor. And what I'm gonna add to this is just a little bit of the liquid from straining the yogurt back into it, just so that we get a nice sort of smooth filling. Perfect. So this is exactly what you'd like here. You want it to just be kind of smooth and spreadable, not soupy at all, so that we can put them in between our crepes once they are made. Got our chocolate here that has begun to melt into the condensed coconut milk. This may just need another minute, which is fine because we need to prepare our crepes. Stick pan here over medium-high heat, and we're gonna add just a thin layer of our batter. You wanna make sure first to just mix it up, just in case there's any separation, but we're in good shape here because we use that nice high-powered blender. And we wanna swirl the pan a little bit. So that we get it nice and even. And we're just gonna let that cook. And we'll know that it's ready when you start to see these little bubbles that are forming around the outside. Those are gonna start forming closer to the center. And once we've done that, the crepe will be ready to flip. I'm gonna get into the pan going because we'll need a few crepes here to make our gâteau. And here at this point too, we've got a little offset spatula. We just want to see how we're doing here. It's just going to take a few more minutes to cook. It's time to assemble the gâteau. So what we're going to do, you want to start with a crepe here. We'll start first with our coconut yogurt filling. We'll take a bit and just spread it kind of evenly. We want it to be about 1/8 of an inch, a bit more. Leave a little bit of room on the outside because we are going to press down on these to even it out. And we'll take another crepe. And this time we'll add a little bit of our chocolate topping. And we just want to be sure to smooth it out, go nice and evenly. Get another crepe here. This time using the yogurt filling again. It's nice to take a few extra minutes to do something like this. I mean, you could have just served these crepes, you know, with the chocolate sauce or, oh, looks like we got a piece that didn't blend well. We'll remove that. But taking a few extra moments to prepare a dish like this where, you know, you'll have an end presentation that's nice. It gives you, you know, a certain amount of pleasure in your cooking. It's always a nice presentation for guests if you're having folks over. So if you have the time, I recommend that you do it here. There we go. Another crepe. This time the chocolate. And then we'll spread this layer again. Again, we found a little piece of chocolate that didn't melt, so we'll remove that. Come back. You know, you could do this with any number of different things. So your crepes here are pretty basically flavored. We just used a little cinnamon. You know, you can incorporate ginger or other spices. If you wanted them a little bit more sweet, then that's fine. You could add a little bit more, a few more dates or some maple syrup. Fruit jam is great in these. Any number of things. This also could be a savory application. So instead of sweetening the crepe batter there, you could, as we've done at Sweet Pea many times, add ginger and curry and use it as to roll things up. You could use it as in like an Italian way, like making a manicotti or something like that. The possibilities are really endless, and you know, we've chosen to prepare dishes with East Asian flavors today, but you could just as easily apply the sort of flavors to things that you enjoy most. That's part of the fun of cooking, you know? We're almost done here. We've saved the nicest crepe for last, because that's going to be the presentation side. Now we have our final crepe that we prepared, the nicest looking one. Place this on top. And now from here, it's best to refrigerate this for about a half an hour, or you could stick it in the freezer for 15 or 20 minutes. You just want this to set up so that we get a nice cut. And so when we come back, you'll get to see what that looks like. So we've got our Gateau here. It's been chilling in the refrigerator for about 15 or 20 minutes to help set the filling, and we're just going to take a little cut out of it now and serve it. We had a little bit extra of the chocolate filling, so we just added a little bit of almond milk to it to make a sauce. So we're just going to pour a bit of that on the plate now. And we'll just take a nice cut. Out of our Gateau. You want to clean your knife blade in between so that you don't ruin the layers. There we are. Pull out this item. And there we are. Our Dosa Gateau. Thank you for joining us today on Plant Powered. I'm Chef Ryan Jennings. We'll look forward to seeing you next time.